Jeffrey Epstein. Never heard of her. The stake starts now. Good evening, folks. Welcome to The Stakes. My name is Michelle Kinney. I am the co-founder and chief creative officer of the Seneca Project, and Tara will be joining us. She is about to do MSNBC, which I guess the 7 o'clock hour now is Michael Steele, Alicia Menendez, and Simone Sanders, who's one of my favorites. So she'll do that hit really quick, and then she'll be back here with us. So please stick around. She'll be here. But in the meantime, my lovely friend, our lovely friend, the lovely Julie Roginski has agreed to join us. So I'm going to bring her right in. Hi, Julie. How's it going?
Hello. I am so happy to be here with you guys. Well, with you right now, and hopefully Tara a little bit later.
Of course. I know. It's almost like I never see you.
I don't think we do enough shows during the week.
We don't.
We needed to add Thursday night to that as well.
Exactly. So tell me, how are you feeling today, Julie?
How am I feeling today? The days kind of blend into each other. I guess I'm okay. I'm just kind of reading as we were about to go on that Trump is now threatening Republicans that if they don't vote for rescission, which means that they don't allow him to steal the money that Congress has already appropriated to be spent.
Wait, what?
Primary them and not support them. Yes.
Did he put this on True Social? Did he say it
He said, anybody who doesn't vote for rescission is not going to have my support or my endorsement. Thank you for your attention to this matter! ! So, of course, they're all going to cave. I mean, this is like a total branch of government that has the power of the purse and is now going to voluntarily relinquish the power of the purse and give it to him.
So a couple things here. Number one, I just want to remind everybody at home that at any point, Republicans in the House and in the Senate could end this. At any moment, they could say, no more. I am not going to allow you to continue doing this to our country. I am not going to relinquish my own power as a representative of a state or congressional district and say no mas. But they are not doing that because the Republicans fall in line every single time. And that is why we are here today.
Every time.
Every goddamn time.
And Susan Collins is going to be very concerned.
Oh, yes.
Express her concern about this, but she's going to still do it because she's up next year. And of course, she's worried that he's not going to support her. Maybe Tom Tillis, who belatedly has found a spy now that he's not running again, maybe he won't go for it. But he probably will anyway, because, he's probably afraid of the death threats or whatever it is.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, casual observer, I see you here as per usual, compromat. I mean, that's the other thing. I genuinely think that either he or the donors have blackmail. I mean, there's got to be. I mean, there was an article I went back and read from, I think it was like 2021 or something. It was right around the time that Madison Cawthorn, remember, was talking about the Republicans who are into like some freaky stuff. And it was Congressman Burchett, I think it was, kind of echoed that and said that there were donors, that there were big dollar donors in the Republican Party who lured members of Congress and or senators into hotel rooms with I don't know who, and had proof of it, and they ended up there drunk and naked, and that they used this information to blackmail them and to make sure that they continue to do their bidding. So I just think that there's so much of this, and that is not surprising at all. It's depressing, and I'm sure Lisa Murkowski too will hate whatever it is, but she will say yes to it anyways because she's afraid. And the other part of this is the Truth Social post, Julie. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
I love that. It's like out of Office Space. It is
Okay, he doesn't write these. I mean, there is this is a whole nother thing with Michael Wolff, right? Michael Wolff wrote that book that
Right.
came out, and there was excerpts of it that were published, and he said that there was like this Charlie's Angels trio. One of them was Alina Habba, the other one was Caroline Levitt, and the other one was like this little blonde gal who follows him around and hands him binders and leaves him love notes in it.
This is the human Xerox machine. Do you know
Is
that?
it?
She
No.
Xeroxes. Or no, so the human printer. Sorry. She prints out, because he doesn't read anything online.
Right.
She prints out all of these great, like, Twitter comments about him and Truth Social comments about him.
And she leaves him little love notes in the binder. So I just have to wonder if the thank you for the attention to this matter is her, or if she's just if he's dictating and she's typing. I don't know that we'll ever know, but it's just it's
matter?
always just like, if it doesn't matter, because it's coming from the pulpit, right? One way or the other. But it's just it would be funny if it wasn't so terrifying. You know what I mean? Like, I actually like sometimes have to laugh at him because it's so ridiculous that it's funny, but it's not funny because everything is terrible. So I started out the show in the cold open saying Jeffrey Epstein, never heard of her. As Donald Trump seems to not really remember his longstanding relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. And on Sunday night,
It's not my type.
Not my type.
Yep.
Now, again, to your point, all the days are blending together. I think it was on Sunday night that Axios had the scoop that Pam Bondi put out a statement. The Attorney General, Pam Bondi, said, after months and months of saying that the Epstein files were sitting on her desk and she's going to release them, and all these other people in MAGA land were saying, oh, they're going to come out. And then she said there isn't one. There just isn't one now. Julie, what's your first take here?
I mean, it's like the Streisand effect, right?
Right.
It's the more you say and deny, the more you don't want to bring attention to something, the more is brought to it. But look, what I love about this whole thing is, if you saw today, Lee Zeldin, who used to be a fairly normal, member of Congress from New York, almost actually became the governor of New York. He ran against Kathy Hochul last time around and did very well. Lee Zeldin today, who's now the head of the EPA, puts out a tweet about contrails, like /chemtrails. We're going to investigate contrails. So that's the other conspiracy theory.
That was like one of the OGs of the conspiracy theories.
And then they're also having the Justice Department now investigate James Comey and John Brennan, the respective former heads of the FBI and the CIA, over the Russia hoax, quote unquote.
Right.
And pretty soon we're going to launch an investigation into the pizza parlor that was in DC that allegedly had the pedophile ring that Hillary Clinton ring. And then pretty soon we're going to start investigating, Vince Foster's death that Hillary Clinton.
Oh my God. It's like, don't even give them ideas. But they will.
But they're going down rabbit holes. And CRR, I'm going to explain the difference between chemtrails and contrails in a moment. But they are going down rabbit holes here, because what they're basically trying to do is to take attention away from this particular conspiracy theory and push it on to other conspiracy theories, that the Russia's interference was a hoax, which PS was absolutely not a hoax. That that there are contrails, that somehow the weather is being controlled, and this is the difference.
Right. So tell us what the difference is between the two.
Chemtrails are apparently the United States government seeding clouds with some sort of substance to affect the weather. Whereas contrails are us somehow seeding the trails that are behind planes flying that are somehow affecting the weather. So contrails, no, that's still chemtrails. No, they said today that's a conspiracy theory. They've looked into and it's not a real thing. But
Mhm.
contrails are going to investigate.
Right.
And thank you, casual observer. I'm sure the Jewish space lasers are coming.
Yes. I know. Tell us about your Jewish space laser. Where do you hide yours? Where do
Well,
you
I'm
store
Jewish.
yours?
I'm not going to tell you
Right.
where my Jewish space lasers are, because then I'd have to kill you, unless you're on the universal Jewish call that we have every morning
Right.
to
Right.
determine how to deploy them. I can't tell you that,
Right.
Michelle.
Where you have all the money and you're controlling all the
Well,
world,
yes,
and
you're
you
not
have
one
all
of
the power in Hollywood and everything else.
you are
Right.
not one of the chosen people, so I can't tell you where I keep my Jewish space laser. Suffice it to say, it's in a very secure location.
Well, that's good.
But yeah, but the problem here is that they are like, they're doing everything they can to take attention away from this particular conspiracy theory.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what's so fascinating to me is, look, either Pam Bondi lied then that she had these files on her desk and she was looking through them,
Mm-hmm.
or she's lying now. And it's not that I think that Jeffrey Epstein, he might have had a little black book. I don't know. But there are certainly flight manifests. There are
Oh.
certainly, I'm sure, Ghislaine Maxwell testimony.
Mm-hmm. Right. And if there is no list and Jeffrey Epstein was like a fine guy or whatever, why is Ghislaine Maxwell still sitting in jail?
Is it Ghislaine, whatever her name? Ghislaine, that's
Yeah,
right.
whatever. Ghislaine, yeah.
There are multiple young women who are no longer so young
Right.
that were trafficked, and they know
Yes.
who they slept with.
Right.
And where's all of that testimony?
Right.
It exists. Of course it exists. You can't
Yeah.
have had the kind of operation that he did and not have enough people say, hey, you know what? The only one we really heard about was this poor woman whose name I can't,
Yeah,
pronounce.
Virginia.
Virginia
Yeah.
is a Joffrey, I
Yeah.
can't remember her last
Yeah.
name. I have her
Giuffre, I think.
name.
Yeah.
But whatever it is, clearly, she was the only one who really came forward and named names.
Yeah.
Prince Andrew, she said a whole bunch of people.
With great detail
Well,
told
great
her story.
But there, she wasn't the only one. And there were so many other girls. They weren't women, girls.
Right.
And the question is whether there is a list that Jeffrey Epstein kept, whether there is a
like a black book or something. Yeah.
Like a black book, right? Whether there's testimony, whether Ghislaine Maxwell tried to trade information that she had to get a lesser sentence. I mean, there's thanks, Case Giuffre. I think you mentioned that last time we were on.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is all of that happened. And also, one more thing. I actually know somebody who was at Dalton, which is a private school in New York, where Jeffrey Epstein used to teach. And he was a teacher. And by the way, the person who hired him, ironically enough,
was Bill Barr's dad, right?
Bill Barr's dad, William Barr's dad, the former attorney general under Trump 1. His father was the longtime headmaster of Dalton. And he was apparently, by all accounts, a very brilliant math teacher or whatever Jeffrey Epstein was. But that's all he was. I mean, he's a math teacher. He wasn't, I don't think he even graduated college. Like, I don't think he was, just savant when it came to investment or anything else. Why were all these men investing with him? Starting with Lex Wexner, the former, would be the current. I don't know if he still owns Victoria's Secret, but he still does.
Right.
And the question is, all of this is out there.
Yeah.
It's all out there. And I don't want to go down any conspiracy theory holes, because it's not a conspiracy theory.
It's not.
It just is, right?
It's in plain sight. It's in plain sight. And like, I really have to give it to the Miami Herald. Miami Herald was the first publication to really, really start to dig into this. And it came with the first arrest of Jeffrey Epstein, which I can't remember what year it was, but he got a very lenient sentence by, at the time, it was Alex Acosta, right?
Yes, who then Trump hired.
Who Trump then hired to be the Secretary of...
I think it was Commerce, but I'm not sure. But it was,
something like that, yeah. Right. And so, all of that started to come to light and be like, why? And what was the, what was the connection there? And then all of this other stuff started to come to the surface. And I remember reading about it very early on. And I remember there was one of the rallies, and there was a protester who came into one of the rallies and just held up a sign that was a photograph of Donald Trump and Jeff Epstein, like the famous photo of the two of them together. And he kind of froze because I think it was the first time that he had been confronted with it. And all of a sudden, I mean, in my opinion, I'm just guessing here, but I could assume that all of that started to flood back at him because I have a few clips here that I just want to play. The first one is just a raw clip. I think it's from 1992 of Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump at a party. I'm just going to play just a little bit of it. First of all, the eyebrows.
First of all, I'm having flashbacks to college because it's like the music.
Right, that song, Rhythm is a Dancer. So good.
Yeah.
And also Jeffrey Epstein smiles like the Joker. The two of those things it's hard not to notice them. But I wanna from that, there's a news report here, and I think this is from late 2019. This is right after Jeffrey Epstein had been arrested, and he had landed in Teterboro Airport, and they had arrested him. And here is that.
Come on in. Go inside.
An invitation into Donald Trump's world. Footage from 1992 found in the NBC archives shows the future president welcoming Jeffrey Epstein to his Mar-a-Lago estate. The get-together more than a decade before Epstein pleaded guilty to prostitution charges in Florida. Both men are seen enjoying themselves, Trump pointing out women dancing in front of them. An apparently friendly encounter with a man the president is now looking to distance himself from.
Well, I knew him like everybody in Palm Beach knew him. I had a falling out with him a long time ago. I don't think I've spoken to him for 15 years. I wasn't a fan.
Epstein, who has pleaded not guilty to federal sex trafficking and conspiracy charges in New York, is fighting to be released from jail while he waits for his trial. His lawyers now offering an explanation for the most mysterious item uncovered in a search of Epstein's Manhattan mansion. An expired foreign passport revealed by prosecutors as they tried to convince a judge that Epstein is a serious flight risk. The passport appearing to show Epstein's photo, but under a different name, his residence listed as Saudi Arabia. Epstein's attorneys describing him as an affluent member of the Jewish faith now say he acquired the document from Austria in the 1980s for personal protection while traveling in the Middle East, adding it was only to be presented to potential kidnappers, hijackers, or terrorists should violent episodes occur. The explanation coming as one of Epstein's accusers called on other alleged victims to tell their stories.
If you have already made the decision to come forward, thank you. If you have not, the time is now.
Courtney Wild first told authorities Epstein sexually abused her more than a decade ago and says she was kept in the dark about the secret deal he cut with federal prosecutors in Florida in 2007.
My voice was muted by the same government that was supposed to protect me.
Law enforcement officials across the country now working together as more women speak up, saying they too were victimized by Epstein.
So I wanted to remind people of all of this because I think that we all have a tendency to, and I think this happened a lot in the 2024 election. Democrats didn't want to dig up stuff that we already knew or we had been told previously about Donald Trump, the most gruesome parts of who he is. And I think people are like, well, people already know that. People already know that. People already know that. People forget. And I think people have forgotten about this. And I think he wants us to keep forgetting about it.
There's also a clip, which I don't think you have, Michelle, but maybe we could pull it for Saturday's show, which is the clip of Trump being asked whether he's going to release the Kennedy files, right? The JFK files. He's doing a show with Fox and Friends.
Yeah.
And one of the anchors is asking him, "Are you going to release the Kennedy files?" "Yes, I am. Absolutely." "Are you going to release what else?" "Yes, I am. Absolutely." "Are you going to release the Epstein files?" And he takes a long pause and he's like, yeah. I mean, if there's something there, yeah, I guess like, it's, he doesn't have a good poker face, Donald Trump. Which is why I want people to believe everything he tells you, believe it, because it's happening, right? And the problem is that there's something there. And altogether, Donald Trump walked in on Miss Universes, some of them were very, very young.
The teen pageant.
Right. So Miss Teen, Universe, whatever it was.
Yeah, it was like Miss Teen USA. Well, he owned Miss USA and he owned Miss Teen. Just to give anybody some context, there were two kind of big pageants that were happening at the time and still do exist, but no one cares as much. There's Miss USA, which was a corporation. Miss USA was tied to Miss Teen USA, was tied to Miss Universe. Donald Trump owned that pageant, which of course he did, because it's women's bodies being paraded on stage and he wants to inspect them, as he said more than once. Miss America is a different organization that was a 501c3.
Miss America is totally unrelated to what he had.
Right, completely unrelated. But the Miss USA was a corporation, a company that Donald Trump owned, and therefore had, power. He had the say of like what happened and who happened, essentially.
Yeah, and I think it's important. My earpiece keeps popping out, but I think it's important to note that, right? Like he has a history of that. He said to some girl on an escalator, something, who's like a 6-year-old girl or something, "I'm going to be dating you in 20 years."
She was 10. She was 10.
"I'm going to be dating you in 10 years. The weird stuff that he said about his daughter, which, nope. Sorry, Michelle, we both have dads. Nope. It's
disgusting. Well, we have Seneca Project put out a video. It's a re-release of a video we put out during the election. We have renamed it Predator, and it's about this. And I would love to play it right now. I'm going to put this up.
I always thought women liked me.
And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything. Whatever you want. Grab them by the pussy.
I make this statement to the great women.
Questionable comments about a young girl.
You're going up the escalator? I'm going to be dating her in 10 years. Can you believe it?
I am your protector.
Carol opening her testimony today saying, quote, "I'm here because Donald Trump raped me."
I want to be your protector.
5 former Miss Teen USA contestants told BuzzFeed that Trump did in fact walk in on them while they were changing.
And so I sort of get away with things like that. You will no longer be abandoned, lonely, or scared.
Donald held back Ivana's arms and began to pull out fistfuls of hair from her scalp.
You're not going to be in danger any longer.
I turned around and I see Donald standing there. I'm thinking, this son of a bitch just grabbed me.
Women will be happy, healthy, confident, and free.
Trump called Epstein a terrific guy, adding, "It is even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side."
You will no longer be thinking about abortion.
They're going to just let me bleed out here.
Do you believe in punishment for abortion? Yes or no, as a principle?
The answer is that there has to be some form of punishment.
For the woman?
Yeah.
You will be protected, and I will be your protector. Women. I was able to terminate Roe v. Wade. I got rid of Roe v. Wade.
Killing Roe v. Wade.
So here's the deal, Michelle. First of all, it's an incredibly powerful ad, and I'm glad you're re-releasing it.
Thank you.
But I think when you put all these things together,
right?
If it walks like a duck and it talks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's not a mouse.
No.
And you consist. I mean, all of this stuff. His friendship with Jeffrey Epstein, the fact that Jeffrey Epstein was based in Palm Beach, and so was Donald Trump. And if you've ever been down to Palm Beach, very, very, very small social circle. I mean, they all know each other, especially at that level.
And New York.
In New York, because Jeffrey Epstein lived a few blocks from Trump Tower, but Palm Beach, New York, you can kind of get away from each other if you want. It's a much bigger city.
Right.
Palm Beach, if you're in that social circle, if you're at that level of affluence, all you do is hang out at each other's houses. And
right. And especially if
there's nothing else to do.
Right. There's nothing else to do, but especially if you have both a reputation for being a sex pest, which Donald Trump did, and saying disgusting things about young women, about young girls, including his own daughter. So with that said, Tara is sitting backstage. She just got done with MSNBC, so I'm going to bring her in and to this conversation. Hello, Miss Tara.
Greetings. Apologies for the late arrival, but I was over on MSNBC talking about Tom Tillis and his decision to let his testicles drop right now and go decide to, which I said on air.
Thank God,
yes,
I love you.
Yes, I said, because they talked about Tillis, Republican Senator Tom Tillis, for those who don't know, of North Carolina, has decided that he's not running for re-election, so he's going to criticize what's happening about the big, beautiful bill, which I refuse to call it, the big ugly bill and all of that. And now he was on Jake Tapper and did a whole long interview yesterday going on and on about how he regrets voting for Pete Hegseth, but he would still vote for him then, knowing what he knew then. But if he knew now what he knew then, he wouldn't vote for him. And I went off, as you can imagine.
Yeah, so, I got to say, we were talking about Jeffrey Epstein, but just to your point real quickly, I loved that he was like, if I knew then what I know now, what did you not know that the rest of us knew?
Right. Oh, I went down the list.
There's not even anything that new that we're learning about Pete Hegseth.
No. There's not. It's, as a matter of fact, what Pete Hegseth is doing, his fuck-ups at the Department of Defense are wholly predictable. I'm sorry. So the unethical, unqualified, unfit, drunk, sexual serial harasser, philanderer who ran a veterans organization into the ground and everything else and never run any complex anything ever is fucking up. Oh, I'm pearl clutching. There's gambling in Casablanca. What did you expect would happen, jackass?
Wasn't Tillis the senator who his former sister-in-law and a bunch of other survivors went to and said, Senator, and he urged them to come forward, and he said, if you come forward, you'll give me the space to vote against him, and then he double-crossed them. Wasn't that Tillis?
Oh, I don't know. That's the first I've heard of that.
Oh, yes.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised because these guys have no balls. And I said that. I said, I'm not going to give the guy a gold star for letting his testicles drop now when he decided he's not going to run for re-election.
Tell me what Michael. Tell me what Michael. What was Michael? I need to know.
Oh, Michael was dying, and Simone was like, and I was on fire because I was so furious. I mean, the nerve of these guys. Like, we're supposed to be like, oh my God, you're so brave now. Fuck you. No, you're not. I was like, when you had the chance to stop this godforsaken administration from ruining the lives of so many people in this country because you decided to vote for these crazies. I was like, he voted for Kash Patel and RFK Jr. I was like, and he's now all of a sudden he's
Mr. Brainworm.
Like, are you serious? How about we do it when it matters? Not now, when it doesn't matter anymore. It's too late. Too little, too late. So So it'll be And then also we actually had a conversation that the second part of that was about Democrats and what's happening in Texas and how the Republicans are calling a special session to try to redistrict again, to rig the elections as they're known to do with congressional redistricting. And Julie, you know how this goes.
Yeah.
People forget that redistricting is a state-run thing.
Yep.
And it matters who your state reps and delegates are because of that. And, some states like California try to take it away from the political side and create commissions now instead. And then they came up with the whole jungle primary thing. And then, they redistrict certain things here and there. But redistricting is a hugely important political apparatus. Mm-hmm. And we've seen how many over the years. And Republicans recognize this very early on. And that's why Democrats are so far behind the curve on investing in state operations from Republicans, because Republicans were like, yeah, okay, you guys want to keep floating around up here with the national stuff, all that. We're going to do the stuff in the states and get our ducks in a row so that when it comes time to have to shift the rules with stuff like this, we're going to have an advantage. That's why incumbency has been so the 95% of incumbents get reelected is because they draw districts that aren't competitive anymore.
Right.
And so anyway, we were talking about that, and I was able to say that Democrats, that's just one of the things that Republicans, when you win, you get to set the rules. So I said, so I hope Democrats learn how to win again, because when you win, then you can start setting the rules.
So do you know that Jasmine Crockett, there's a poll out that Jasmine Crockett leads in a hypothetical Senate matchup in Texas?
Really?
Yep.
That would be wonderful if she jumped into that race. But I think that's what when did that poll come out, Julie? Because I think that could be why Colin Allred decided to jump in so soon.
It came out, I believe, today.
Really?
Yes.
Who did the poll?
Let me look.
That's interesting. That is very interesting, because there's also the astronaut guy that's looking to jump into that primary as well. And this is for Cornyn's seat, right?
I'm sorry. You know who did this? The NRSC.
The NRSC?
Crockett led with 35% support among surveyed Democratic voters. This is, I'm sorry, just among Democrats, ahead of Allred at 20%, with O'Rourke and Texas Representative Joaquin Castro both at 13%, according to a survey conducted by the NRSC.
I believe that.
That's interesting. That's very interesting. I think they're afraid of her. They're
terrified.
And she would, I'll tell you right now, well, we were talking to someone who consults with candidates today and said that he had given some advice for Colin Allred in a debate against Ted Cruz that Colin Allred did not take. And it was a way to kind of combat some of the trans issue stuff that, like don't fall into the trap. He calls it breaking the frame. And he didn't take the advice. And he was like, he should have, because they get sucked into answering the questions. Like we call it like substituting the issue, right? You just change the subject. You don't have to answer the question. Just you substitute the issue with something else you want to talk about. And I'll tell you what, Jasmine Crockett wouldn't do that. She's not going to fall, and she wouldn't fall into those traps and those kinds of questions, because she knows how to communicate and talk about what matters in a way that resonates with people. Buttigieg is another one that's very good at doing that. People that know how to do that are the ones that connect with folks, because Republicans are very good at laying the trap, and Democrats fall into it a lot.
It's gotten so bad, you guys, and I have a Substack coming out on this tomorrow, and Michelle, this is what couldn't open today that I was trying to text you, but we are now laying the trap for ourselves, and let me explain how. James Carville, who, when I was coming up back in the 90s, was very relevant and very good at his job, but I think he aged out a bit in terms of how to communicate.
Yeah.
So I got to ask, somebody's going to spare us from these boomer men who are running the Democratic Party. I am married to a boomer, so I'm not critical of boomer men. I just think it's time for them to move on from running the party.
Yeah.
It's even time for people in my generation of Gen X to potentially move on, because we don't know how to communicate to younger voters either. But here is what Carville did. He went on some podcast and he was lambasting Democrats for being scolds and nags and generally getting on everyone's nerves. And here is how the New York Post, which this typically I would not say what the New York, take everything New York Post says with a grain of salt, but they were just effectively transcribing what Carville said on this podcast. This is what he said about how Democrats treat young working class men. You go home, you want a cold beer, you want a hamburger, and you want to watch the football game. No, he added, mocking Democratic rhetoric. You can't do that. Not football. No, hamburgers? How many calories does that have? Do you know what that does to you? Beer? No, you should be drinking a nice fruit spritzer or something. And I'm like, oh, get off my back, right? And then, quote, if you have sex, you must wear a condom.
What? I was with him until that. Because you don't want anybody nagging you, and sometimes Democrats with the purity test can nag. But
who's nagging somebody about a hamburger though?
I get the sentiment, what he's saying about certain things, but it is an old school way of communicating that. But the condom thing.
Okay. All right. I'm sorry for nagging you, for asking you. I'm sorry if you're a young man and I'm hooking up with you. I'm so sorry that I have to ask you to wear a condom. You're so right.
As the resident elder millennial on this podcast show right now, when I was in 4th grade, that is when Magic Johnson's
HIV
diagnosis with HIV came. And
is that like 91, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was in like 4th grade.
Yeah, I was in
When I tell you that was central to our education from that day forward, and it was talked about constantly. They put the fear of God into us.
But it's
like every grade, every semester, every health class, any current events thing, like
but who's
being like
complaining
no,
about
I know, but I'm
nags.
just saying it's like
Michelle,
that's
they're
not
nags.
even a thing.
They're
That's not
nags.
even.
How dare they nag the boys in your class about wearing?
Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, listen, there was some value to some of Carville's like regular guy straight talk stuff at some point, but he's really gone off the deep end now with this. I mean, it's
But this is the
Doesn't
same
even
guy.
make
This is the
sense.
same guy who's told everybody to play possum.
Play
back in
possum.
February.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Listen, the guys who run the National Party, the Chuck Schumers of the world, who all came up in the 80s and 90s with James
Right.
Carville as the June Terra,
Yeah.
these guys listen to him because he still
Right.
walks on water. So when James Carville told Chuck Schumer to play
Wow.
possum, guess
It's like
what
the
Chuck
Obama
Schumer
guys
did?
too.
He's been playing possum.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's not, and well, I mean, they're about the same age, so of course he's going to listen to his peer. That's part of the problem here. You know,
And
that was another part of the
listen.
segment actually that we were talking about. It was about Democrats like begging for new, younger, fresher voices, and how I just read an article in the New York Times about how like younger down ballot candidates feel abandoned by the National Democratic Party establishment because they're like, hey, we're here like on the ground. And how there's a new thing. Have you heard about this yet, Julie? There's that like new state effort called like State Forum or something.
Yeah.
I think it's Josh Shapiro and some others that are starting that. And I read that. I was like, well, it's about damn time because Republicans have had this state policy now for years. I was a trainer for GoPack.
Since the 70s.
Yes,
Since
like
the
this
70s.
is
You were
right.
like third generation trainer, Tara.
Yes, I was.
That was in the 90s.
That's true. And so I was like, well, it's about time. And like one of the Pritzkers is involved in this. And I'm like, that's great because they're like a billionaire family. Then I saw how much money they've raised for it.
No, God, please.
$4 million.
How much?
$4 million. That's
it.
That's it. And I'm going, $4 million?
I can't.
What are you doing with
I
that?
can't.
Well, because
I
I
can't.
don't think donors, I don't think Democratic donors are in the mood to open up their wallets right now.
I know, that's part of the problem.
This is a whole nother problem.
Until they see some results.
Yeah.
And if I were Josh Shapiro and if I were the Pritzker, my God.
Right.
Why don't the Pritzkers just put $100 million
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
And by the way, show what you can do, and then other people will open up their wallets.
Correct.
Yeah. There always has to be a first. Always has to be a first.
I'm not sending a dime to any political, I don't care if it's the state committee or the Democratic National Committee or any committee, not even $1 on principle. Because I do believe that money will be spent wisely. Because state parties right now are spending all their money paying consultants to do nothing. I know this because God knows I've been involved in state politics for a very long time. The DNC, I don't know what they're doing all day. I spoke to a member of Congress yesterday. I haven't even told you guys, somebody pretty high up in leadership who was despondent over what's happening down there. And he's been down there for a very, very long time, many decades. And,
as are we, because we're on a couple chats and we're like, what? That's what you're doing?
No,
like Ken Martin, you guys are sending out talkers that include that Ken Martin was on some fuckity fucks podcast. Are you kidding me? You're the head of the DNC. Why aren't you on the Sunday shows? Why aren't you out there on podcasts that people actually listen to?
And
why, like, where
sling
are
and
you?
mud. And sling and mud.
Why don't you put real people on these podcasts? So I think there's somebody in this chat who said that you have, that you're Susie Jones. I think it's you, right? That you said that you have, I forgot what you said you have. I'm sorry.
Let me see if I can find is it a recent comment?
A little bit ago, but I think you said you had osteoporosis or something, or I forgot what it was, but that you're terrified about losing your health care.
Yeah.
You should be out there.
That's right.
Right.
You should be out there. It should not be Julie and Tara and Michelle's face on television all the time talking about this. It should not be Ken Martin. It should be people who are truly afraid and terrified of losing their health care.
Yes, that's what Republicans did. That's what they do. They take real stories, and sometimes they're not real, but they make them seem as though they're real, and they put real faces to them. I just said that also on this MSNBC
Trump
segment.
says it all the time, and then he came up to me with tears in his eyes.
Yeah, I mean, he
and
makes
said,
the sir stories, which we know are bullshit. But there are enough real people that you don't have to make it up. That's what Sarah Longwell and those guys are starting to do. That was a smart thing. George Conway and them. I forget what it's called now. Like Home of the Brave or something like that.
Yeah.
If it's hurting you, tell us your story, and then they'll put it out there. The Democrats should be doing that. We at Seneca Project would do that if we had the funding. Like you have to set the narrative. And I said that tonight on MSNBC. I said the Democrats should be out here in these swing districts telling real stories about the people who will be impacted by this big BS bill. I was like, don't call it a beautiful bill. Go out there and make the Republicans defend what's beautiful about taking the healthcare away from 17 million people, by taking the home aid away from your disabled kid with cancer that needs their home aid to help take care of them. So what's beautiful about taking the food out of the mouths of these schools, the school kids who are on military bases, whose fathers are serving, that need those school lunch programs and food assistance programs, because these soldiers only make $22,000 a year and their wives or whomever is home taking care of kids. Those are the faces of what's being taken away from here. Make Republicans defend what's beautiful about that, damn it. I said, and do it now, not wait until 6 months from now. You need to be doing it now.
Because by then you won't even be playing catch up. You're just going to look like a moron because people are like, what are you talking about?
Because Trump's already out there lying about what's going on.
And we talked about this today, Tara, too, is that like the majority of Americans don't even know what this bill is. They don't understand. And it's not because they're stupid. It's because no one's told them. And who should be telling them? The Democratic Party and the PACs that are working for the Democratic Party or the same messaging. And what that requires is people who know how to message in plain language, but also money.
Yes.
These things cost money. And it's like, and people are like, well, the senators are out there that think, yes, on their own platforms, which have people who already follow them. Preaching to the choir. Like this, Donald Trump and the White House have put together, and this is something that they have learned in the last few years, that if you put money into beautifully produced cinematic, videos and ads, and they're nationally placed, and they're not just in places like North Carolina or Pennsylvania or Michigan. They're being placed in places like Los Angeles, New York, and Chicago. They're everywhere because they're trying to get their story of the things that they're doing and the policies that they're putting through. They're saying, they're good for you. They're good for you.
Right.
And that's what this is. And if you do not have somebody out on the airwaves every single day countering this message, saying bullshit, no, they're not good for you, then people don't know. And this is like the line from An American President, right? The movie, that people will listen to who is talking, and people are starved to hear someone speak to them. And, if they're in a desert of communication, they'll drink the sand. And that really is the truth here, because if Democrats aren't talking, how are people going to know?
But not talking in policy wonk speech about, whatever stupid shit terms that they use, instead of just saying what it is.
Right. Oh my God. Remember the Democrats, Senate Dems, they put together.
Yes.
The things we did this week. Okay. They put oh my God.
They
put out this, Jesus Christ. They put out this graphic. Okay. And they're like, here's the things that we did this week. It was like 30 things.
And it was like,
and I'm like, guys, no one's
font
reading
this big,
this.
font this
with
big,
font like this big, and this many things. I'm like, here's the thing: you put 4 things,
right? 5 at the
maybe
most.
5,
usually 3. Usually, like we always taught it's in 3s, but 5 maybe. If
5
it's a
maybe,
lot.
and you know what? Maybe you put a link and say, if you want to read more, here, go read, and you could put it somewhere else. But for a shareable graphic that people are just gonna, people don't read anymore. They read headlines. If you don't put it in the headline, nobody's seeing it. This is why like crafting headlines is so important now too.
There's a reason why remember the platform Vine that was 6 second videos? There was a reason why that was hugely successful.
Yeah, and it broke everyone's brains and attention spans.
Right.
But that's the world we live in now.
Exactly. So you got to adapt.
there's a reason why Twitter originally was 180 characters.
Mhm,
That's how
mhm.
long text messages were. Remember, you couldn't text message.
Right. It would go into like 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
And the reason for that,
140. It was 140.
The reason for that is because people's attention spans were diminished tremendously, and they continue to be. And
they didn't want long form, right?
And
Like
especially for
Facebook.
younger kids. I mean, like, listen, I have a 13-year-old. I can tell you, his attention span is like as long as this.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, adults aren't much better, and so
Because we've got too many. We've got too many distractions now. It's not like America sit there and watch Who Shot JR. And everybody was
Who Shot JR.
Right.
Or like
all
the
of
MASH
America would sit
finale.
there and wait the entire summer to find out who shot JR.
Well,
Now
this is
like Netflix. It was brilliant when they started releasing things on streaming and dropped the whole season away.
Yep.
Well, right. But speaking of Netflix and all these streaming, they're in development in a lot of these studios now. They are developing content now, like not the stuff that they're going to submit for the Emmys and all that stuff, right? This other stuff, like just they need people to consume. They are creating things that need to be secondary consumption. So these are things that you'll be able to have on while someone gets distracted and starts scrolling on their phone, and then come back to it 15 minutes later and then be able to pick up and know what's going on. I'm not kidding.
Are you serious?
I'm deadly serious.
Wow.
This is a part of development now.
Wow.
Because this is like the reality. They're like, we need people, because listen, I do it. I start watching something and then I pick my phone up and then I'm like, Christ almighty. I was like, I just missed it and I have to rewind it, which I should. I need to put my phone down if I'm watching something. But like they don't want people to do that. They're like, just keep watching, and you'll be able to know what's going on because this is secondary. It's like the thing that you have on in the background.
Wow. Yeah, that's scary, man. Listen, that's part of probably AI. They probably have like a way to figure out like at what point did most people start to, lean away. They're soon going to have like devices that see our eyes. And then like when we look away, then it's going to do that.
Listen, we're all going to be uploaded to the cloud here pretty soon anyway. So like, God help us.
Or used for biofuel.
I know. Right? Curtis Jarvin, my God.
Like, did you guys see, there's a limited series on HBO called Years and Years. Do you see this?
No.
Oh my God. You guys have to watch this. You have to watch it. It was like Black Mirror meets, I don't know. I don't even know how to describe it.
Well, that's weird enough.
Well, right. I mean, because there was this, it was like, it takes place in England and all these characters, right? And I think it's like 2016 or something like that. And it's like, picks up like every few years, like what's happening in the world. And it's like the breakdown of democracy and, Donald Trump gets reelected and like all these things. Like,
when did this come out?
Wait, is it fictional or is it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, based on, what's going on in the world, but then it's, then there's the technology aspect of this too, that the expectations. And then there's a whole nother layer of this about immigration fears. And now going back and watching this now, I'm like, oh my God. Seriously, go watch it.
Since you brought up immigration, did you guys see those horrible images again today of the ICE raids out in Ventura, California?
I did
on the farms. Oh my God. So this has been obviously a problem for Trump and MAGA because a lot of these farmers voted for Donald Trump. And 42% of farm workers across the country are undocumented. So this is a whole cottage industry, and people, they know this. And so the farmers who voted for Trump thought for sure that they're not going to come for their workers who've lived with them for years and have families and all of that. Maybe they're not documented, but they're good people who pick our fruit and our vegetables. And that Donald Trump's not coming for them. He's coming for the criminals and the sex traffickers and the gang members. Well, Donald Trump's ICE Gestapo is coming for all of them. As a matter of fact, less than 10% of the people that Donald Trump's Gestapo has rounded up are actually criminals. So all of these other people that they're grabbing, they're not. And they're going out and they're raiding these farms now. Mm-hmm. And the farmers are going, this is a problem. And then Donald Trump and the hotels and the restaurant industry too, right? So now Donald Trump is going, oh, well, we don't mean those guys. Like we're gonna put a pause on that. And then a couple days later, because guess what? ICE is completely out of control. They have decided, nope, they're going back in and they're doing these raids again. So Donald, there's this like seesaw that's been going back and forth with the farmers and the ag people and Trump, where he like gets caught out there because he's like, well, the farmers are my people. And wait, why are we, what? No, we're not going to do that. But then a couple days later, ICE goes right back and does it again. So this just happened again. And today,
but is it just in blue states that he's doing this on the farms, or is he going into like Iowa and places like that?
So that's it. I brought the point up about Iowa the other day because I saw that Ruben Gallego was in Iowa at the Iowa State Fair doing what most people who want to run for president
could possibly be doing there.
Right. What is he doing there? What is the senator from Arizona doing at the Iowa State Fair in
He just loves South Carolina barbecue sauce, and he just wanted to check it out.
Butter on a stick.
Right. He loves the butter, which I've had, by the way, and it's actually really good. But anyway, so I was like, he should be talking about how in Iowa leads the country in pork producing and egg producing, and they're major ag manufacturers, and their farmers are. I was reading the Des Moines Register because I wanted to see what they were talking about in Iowa about this, and the farmers and the ag manufacturers are like, "You're killing us here with this. We've got to find a solution." So the governor, Kim Reynolds, out there, and Joni Ernst, and her bullshit. I'm like, this is an opportunity for Democrats to put them on the hot seat. So instead of rounding people up and doing this horrible shit and disappearing people, why aren't we, if you really want to fix the problem, then why don't you improve the guest worker program, improve the visa program, improve this so that these folks can be here and work legally? Well, how come you're not rounding up the farmers who are employing them? These people aren't just all of a sudden showing up and picking fruit of their own. They're doing it because the farmers and these companies are paying them to do it. We're not rounding them up. This is bullshit. Because they don't really care. It's for theatrics. This is all for theatrics. They're playing to the Stephen Millers and the racists and the xenophobes and the people who hate anyone that's not a white Christian male. That's what they're doing here. And they're drunk with power now. So there's these videos of these people being tear gassed on American farms in the breadbasket of this country in California. For what? For what? Because now this is the talking point. Medicaid people are going to they're going to use those people, the people that are getting the assistance. They're going to go out and pick the fruit and the vegetables and all of that. Good luck.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Like, is my friend's 1.5-year-old little baby with a disability going to be out in the fields, like picking things? Like, get out of here.
Yeah. And actually, it's a skill. They don't think, this isn't just like part of this. This is skilled labor for people who do this, okay? It's difficult. It's hard. I have a lot of respect for people who do this.
Go watch a video. Like, seriously,
exactly.
It's incredible.
And, like don't diminish them and the work that they're doing. Should they be here legally? Yes, they should. But they're here now. Our farmers and our companies and corporations are giving people these jobs. Those are the economic magnets. That's why they keep coming. So you know what? How about you actually govern and come up with good policy, which is what Republicans used to try to do back when I was in Congress as a staffer, and we were developing immigration policy. Part of it, a big part of it, was the guest worker programs. And because a lot of these folks, they don't want to live here necessarily. They come here, they work, and they send money back home. Yeah. They'd much rather be with their families. So you know what? They come for the picking season and they go back home. And then they come for the picking season and they go back home. If they have guest worker visas, so what's the problem?
But you know what this tells me? This tells me that these guys have never actually seen what it's like. Like, I remember I was in California last year, 2 years ago.
Ooh,
I don't know what's going on. And I was driving from San Francisco down to Carmel. And I went through the agricultural part of it.
Yeah.
Forgive me, because I don't know my California counties that well, but through these farms, you literally drive in this road, and the people who were working there were doing the kind of backbreaking work that Americans just won't do. They just will not do it.
That's correct.
They will not.
And they've said that there are, to your point, Julie, because I worked for a California congressman in Southern California, though, but it was still this was a big issue. Right. There was an article that just came out recently because like I said, I was reading up on this because again, I'm familiar with a lot of the nuances here of this from my years of policy work on this. And I wanted to see kind of who was talking about that now, because there really hasn't been any real like substantive policy discussions about any of this. It's just been all the theatrics of this horrible Gestapo bullshit that's going on, disappearing people. And there was an article that was talking about how these farmers have tried to hire Americans at a decent wage, $20 an hour, right? Decent wage. And they said that some of these people don't make it through the day. They don't make it through the day.
It's wild.
So they tried. And it's like, so what is the problem? There are people who are willing to do it. Don't exploit them. Make sure that they're in humane conditions, pay them a living wage, and make them legal. Give the legal work status and keep it moving. Because when you go to get your vegetables at the supermarket and it costs $10 to get a tomato, then maybe people will wake up and go, "Oh, there's a problem here."
But even then they'll find a reason or a way to blame the other side. And speaking of the theater, I just want to play a clip of the Trump's Gestapo in MacArthur Park a few days ago with the stormtroopers on the horses.
Mayor Bass, I need to get my phone and we're departing.
Okay. Mayor Bass?
Mayor Bass.
Oh my
Any
God.
comment, Mayor Bass?
Thank you.
Mayor Bass, any comment?
Yes, my comment is they need to leave, and they need to leave right now. They need to leave because this is unacceptable.
Who did you speak with?
Just wait and see.
Mayor Bass,
They will be leaving soon.
Mayor Bass, who did you speak with on the phone just now? Who did you speak with on the phone?
They had a pistol.
Wow.
So I'd also like to play.
Good for her. I hadn't seen her response there.
Oh yeah.
She was. I mean, good for her.
She was out there.
I would have told him to get the fuck out of my park, but that's because I'm from Jersey and California people are a little nicer.
You're right, a little more chill.
A little nicer.
But she wasn't chill there, and I appreciate
that. No, that's good for her.
And I want to say, I want to show this as well. This is the Governor Newsom's response to all of the theatrics, and it was on the 6-month anniversary of the fires in Los Angeles as well, which I'm sure is all part of the strategy here. Oops.
What's happening in MacArthur Park? What theater? On the 6-month anniversary, after all, of these fires. That's the message from the polluted heart of the President of the United States. The polluted heart of Stephen Miller. Those National Guard men and women that were out there protecting people are now being used as political pawns. Out there on horsebacks running through soccer fields in the middle of the day. Timed around announcements and events like this. It says everything you and I need to know about the state of mind of the President of the United States in this administration. So to those that feel torn asunder by everything that's happened over the course of the last 6 months, notably highlighted and reinforced last 6 weeks and over the course of the last 60 minutes and day like today, I want folks to know we have your back and we'll continue to come back and do what we can to protect our diverse communities, to protect the spirit that defines the best of this city and our state, and to push back against this cruelty. To push back against this cruelty that is being perpetuated by the President of the United States.
Good for him.
Listen.
He's the only one. He's the only one. We were just talking about this today, and I'm on one today because all of this is just infuriating. And I was saying that, he's the only one that's out there swinging his dick, and he needs to, right? Because these people need to have some strength, show some strength and push back against what Trump is doing and what they're doing. People gravitate toward fighters, someone that's going to stand up for them, who's going to say, like, listen, I feel you, I've got your back, and I'm not going to stand here and let them do it. Let them go through me first. Because remember, Donald Trump would always say, they're coming for me because they want to come for you. He would say this all the time. All the time. He would use himself as he's like the shield. I'm going to stand as the bulwark for them because they're coming for you. And I'm not going to let them. They're going to have to go through me. Even though we all know that's bullshit, but it works for a lot of people. And in this case, they need to have people like, I mean, we never thought we would say this about, pretty boy, San Francisco liberal Gavin Newsom. Like, no one thought he would be the one, but if he means it, he's the only one stepping up, then good for him. Let him do it.
He's got to stop hanging out with, the buddies of MAGA there on his podcast.
Well, yes,
that was a mistake.
That was a mistake. And I think he has a little bit of time. Yeah, he hopefully whoever's consulting him now aren't the same people that said to do that. Hopefully he got rid of those people, and the people that he has now, it was smart. It's smart of him to go into some of these red areas like he did in South Carolina, which is what I said the other day on MSNBC. I said he went to Seneca, South Carolina, which, by the way, is Lindsey Graham's hometown. And I said, as the CEO of the Seneca Project,
tweeted,
like
right?
that.
You saw he tweeted Gavin Newsom because he was there on Lindsey Graham's birthday. And he was like, happy birthday, Lindsey Graham. I'm in your town. Which I was like,
good. I mean, like
troll.
he's got a sassy comms team going on here on his Twitter. It's very entertaining. But it's good. That's what you need to do.
Well, and the media is doing him his disservice, as they always do with Democrats, because again, somebody somewhere decided that Democrats punch down and Republicans punch up. And so everyone has to be extra critical of Democrats. And I just want to play this clip of this creator. I actually tagged you in a comment, Tara. I don't know if you saw it, but I
actually didn't.
He talks about this, and I think it's great. I think it's great.
You guys, like a jalapeno ripening in the sun, I am going to get increasingly spicy over the next 3 years as I encounter headlines like the one I just saw in the Washington Post. Newsom excites red state Democrats, but some worry about a Californian. Or this one from Politico in South Carolina. Newsom confronts his California problem. This is just what we were talking about on Find Out podcast with Joe Walsh, the Tea Party congressman who turned Never Trump and then who turned Democrat. We must stop apologizing for who we are. California is the 4th largest economy in the world. It's also the largest, wealthiest, and most diverse state in the country. The last time the governor of California was president, you guys made him the godfather of the Republican Party. Not only is any successful governor of California well equipped to be the president of the United States, I would argue no politician in the country is better equipped to step in and do the job of president on day one. This is a state that has Silicon Valley, Napa Valley, Humboldt County, Hollywood, and 24 million acres of farmland in one state. Besides, someone tell me, what is the scariest thing about California? Is it that people there get paid more than anyone else? Is it that people in California have paid family leave? Is it that California benefits are the most competitive in the nation? And before people say, well, how are we going to pay for that? You know what? The workers of the United States produce $30 trillion a year in economic output. By the way, 14% of which comes from California alone. We are both the wealthiest country in the world and the world's most lucrative market. And yet, compared to every other developed nation, we keep almost none of it for ourselves. Not only can we afford these programs to take care of ourselves, we can't afford not to have them. Because last I checked, Americans were sadder and unhealthier than almost every other person in every other developed nation in the world. Put another way, you deserve this because you're good enough, you're smart enough, and God fucking damn it, people would like you if you could just afford to go to the dentist.
Oh my God!
So good.
Listen, that should be Gavin Newsom's presidential kickoff video right there about how fantastic California is, and the last president from California was Ronald Reagan.
Oh my God!
And go through how great California is, and every single time somebody tries to come for California, being some shithole place or whatever, I would say, I'm sorry. Last time I checked, it's the breadbasket of America. We produce da-da-da-da-da. We are the 4th largest economy in the world. We produce this, we do that, we have this, we have that. So you know what? I'm damn proud of being from California, and the rest of America should be too, because we also contribute X amount of dollars so everybody else can have great lives and great government services. Like that's what that is breaking the frame.
And by the way, who's running the government right now? Oh, it's the guys from Silicon Valley. All of them live in California.
That's right. That's exactly right.
California is very wealthy, because Stanford University has now become the incubator for all of this.
Yep.
For all of this. NVIDIA stock NVIDIA just became the first $3 trillion company.
Jesus Christ.
Please explain to people what NVIDIA is.
So I'm not sure, but my husband bought NVIDIA for about $2.50, and now he's made a lot of money on it.
It's basically they're behind the super chips that make AI, that power AI.
But I mean, like, I say that because he's quite interested in how NVIDIA is doing, and so
yes,
for that reason, right? You have a $3 trillion market cap, the first company that's reached that.
Yep, that's more than Apple, people.
And we as Democrats sit here and apologize for it because they have decided to make it Holly weird and
right, because we let them set the narrative and we don't do anything about it.
Every single time.
Yeah.
Every single time. And again, I go back to Zoran Mamdani. I have to learn how to pronounce his name properly. I disagree with him on a lot. But this guy just showed Democrats how to campaign.
Right. How to campaign, not the subject matters, but
he's not the subject matter. He's not apologizing for shit.
Nope.
Including the stuff I wish he'd apologize for.
I was going to say, some of the stuff actually he shouldn't be doubling down on. That's a different conversation.
You know what? He's going to win.
I know.
I think he's going to win. I'm not happy about it.
I think that's going to be.
Nobody knows how to deal with him.
Yeah, it's going to be him winning in New York City is going to be the albatross around every Democrat's neck going into 2026.
Unless
I worry about it.
Don't allow that to happen.
Well, yeah, but Julie, the Democrats don't respond well to learning how to adjust to that. And Republicans are already doing it. They're already doing it.
But I'm saying to you right now that if he does win, if Democrats allow him to become the albatross around everybody else's neck, as opposed to looking at him and saying, how did this guy get young men to come out and vote for him, who don't come out and vote for Democrats ever? How did this guy get this huge groundswell of voters who've never voted before for anybody to come out and vote for him? There are lessons to be drawn here. And again, I did not rank him. Michelle, I know you did not rank him. I really don't know what I'm going to be doing in November. But
I don't either.
We just had this conversation this morning, Michelle and I, about the dilemma there. But yeah, you're right. To your point, Julie, I'm concerned that the Democrats are learning all the wrong lessons from this. They're learning that they need to be democratic socialists in order to win. And that is a huge, huge, huge mistake. Huge mistake.
I will say this to you, Tara. I wonder, and he's not my cup of tea either, but I wonder if Bernie Sanders would have done better against Donald Trump than Hillary Clinton.
Oh God, no.
I gotta help you with your feedback. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know the answer to that because it couldn't be worse.
I don't know. I think that there were. I don't know. That the Bernie Sanders problem in 2016 is a whole other.
He energized a whole bunch. He energized a whole bunch of working class folks that no other Democrat's been able to do.
He did, but part of that was also because Hillary Clinton made it about her instead of making it about other people. Whoever told her to make her campaign slogan "I'm with her" is that was awful. And to have her campaign headquarters and her campaign headquarters in Brooklyn was foolish. And I can tell you that Bill Clinton told her don't do that, and she didn't listen. So it's a whole other thing. But Julie, we have kept you for an hour and 10 minutes, and thank you for jumping in last minute to help keep Michelle company.
I'm gonna go before I kill everybody.
Yes. So sorry. Thank you. No, we appreciate you, Julie. We'll see you on Saturday. We'll see you in the chats later, but we'll see your lovely face on Saturday for Coffee and Conversation.
Saturday. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, Jules. Make sure you guys check out her Substack, Salty Politics. It's awesome. Michelle, did you play Predator today?
I did.
Okay, awesome.
Well, I also wanted to finish the conversation about Jeffrey Epstein because Julie and I had started it, and I had played a news clip from NBC that aired back in late 2019 that kind of gave the timeline of what had happened with them at the time he was in the jail in Manhattan.
Yeah.
It laid out some of their relationship, and also the footage of them dancing at that party in 1992. And we were talking about like why this is important and why this is such a big thing for MAGA, because MAGA this has been a big part of like the MAGA base.
Oh,
like,
yes.
conspiracy theory. I mean,
because it's an outgrowth of the QAnon stuff, all the whole like sex trafficking, pedophile,
except
wacko,
this is real.
weirdo, except this is actually real, and it's not that some Pizzagate conspiracy made up. It's not about like drinking the blood of kids or whatever the fucking crazy shit that they talk about. But this was actually real, and so they were kind of able to latch on to this. And then Donald Trump really never disavowed his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. As a matter of fact, he wished Ghislaine Maxwell, he wished her well when she got convicted and sent to prison for 20 years for this whole trafficking and prostitution or whatever they were doing, all of that. So she's not sitting in prison for 20 years for nothing. And it's showing some hypocrisy here.
Well,
and so
they've pulled the old tweets from JD Vance from 2021. There's a whole slew of them.
Did you show
I
didn't
because I don't have them.
Oh,
but they're all asking about where's the Epstein list? What about the Epstein files? Because they were trying to use it as powerful liberals like Bill Clinton or Bill Gates and like things, it's the cabal of like liberals, because liberals are dirty and they're awful. Listen, there's disgusting people on all parts and sides of this political spectrum, okay? And they're powerful and they have money, and this shit's disgusting. And it's awful, and it has ruined lives. Ruined lives.
Yes.
And
however we feel about the other place where we came from, what was done as a result, being accused of being pedophiles and all of this, and like they were like papering people's home neighborhoods.
I
with
still
these
have
awful. I do too.
I got sent one.
I did too, and luckily my face wasn't on there because, thank God. But some other people's faces were, and being sent to their communities, accusing them of being pedophiles. I mean, this was all part of their
dehumanizing, and it was part of dehumanizing people
because
again, like, listen, people are against like, the death penalty, and people are against killing other people except for, and like people always make that exception. I'm against the death penalty except for people who hurt children or pedophiles or rapists or, and there's always that little but, that asterisk, that a lot of people have that opinion. And so they're like, if we can dehumanize these people into being monsters.
There's nothing worse than that. There's nothing worse than being
there's
a pedophile.
nothing worse than that. But like they never, I don't know why, but they never expected it for the splatter to come back at themselves. And Julie brought up this, the interview that Donald Trump had done with Fox and Friends. And it's funny because the woman who's asking the question is Sean Duffy's wife.
And Rachel Campos.
Yeah, she's the one that's asking, like, will you release the JFK files? Yes. Will you release whatever files? Yes. Will you release the Epstein files? And he's like, well, I don't know. I mean, that could really, ruin some lives. There might be some people on there who aren't like,
because we've seen the plane logs. He's been on the plane multiple times. There's like the logs of him. He was like, look, we all know what this is about. He's covering his own ass.
And so, I have a clip now. I don't know if anybody here follows Michael Wolff. Michael Wolff is an author. He lives in New York. He's written a lot of like kind of salacious books and things about Donald Trump. But the most recent one that he wrote about Donald Trump had to be sourced more thoroughly, because the last one that he did had a lot of unnamed sources, or people not willing to give, to go on the record with their names. So
Fire and Fury, wasn't that?
That was the last one. This one is called something else. But Fire and Fury was the one that he gave a lot of,
for.
So if you follow him on Instagram, I actually get a kick out of him because he's a bit of a character, and he films these like
he's
videos.
Very camp.
So campy. And he films these videos of himself like sitting in a rocking chair or standing in a garden at what I'm assuming is his Hamptons home.
Hamptons house,
It's either Hamptons or like Shelter Island or something like that.
Well,
I was like,
that's the Hamptons.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's
Sort of.
because there's a certain kind of architecture that you just
Yes.
notice.
And it's beautiful. No, listen, no
Stunning.
shade to
Oh
the
my
Hamptons.
God, no
I love it. I love Sag Harbor and East Hampton. It's
Listen, I'd
wonderful
love
out
to
there.
have
I
money
love
to
Shelter
be
Island.
spending my summer in Sag Harbor,
Yeah.
but unfortunately,
Listen, I was only able to
I
go.
just drive past.
Yeah, I was only able to go and spend time there because my husband had to work out there a couple times. So I got an opportunity to go because the government paid for it.
Well, right. So thank you to that.
Yeah.
But Michael Wolff put out one today, and because Michael Wolff spent hours interviewing Jeffrey Epstein, and right, and all
What
of this
time period was that?
Um,
because for people who don't realize, Jeffrey Epstein knew lots of folks. He was all up in it with all kinds of people on both sides of the aisle. Very
Yes.
powerful people.
Well, let me just play just a couple seconds of this. This is the recording.
That was close to straight. So I need the
Yeah, he says I was Donald Trump's closest friend for 10 years.
10 years. Yeah,
and
well, there's pictures of Trump and Melania with him and his other,
Right. And this
armor.
that recording was from years ago. I think it was like 2014 or 15 or something like that. But this was released via the Daily Beast in October of 2024, those tapes. So Michael Wolff has really kind of been.
It was? How did we miss that? Last year?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
In October? Like October surprise.
That's what it said. Right. And like it didn't even make a splash.
Wasn't even a blip. We're pretty dialed in. And did you know?
Yeah.
I don't remember that tape being released then. Anyway, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of the tapes, and he talks about, how they, remember it was like Donald Trump would talk about sleeping with his friends' wives and things like this, and like that was all part of the story too. And like, anyways,
it's such old news at this point. Nobody's shocked anymore. I mean,
well, that's the problem, and that's what I was saying to Julie is like, I think that part of what the Democrats. Another big mistake that they made in 2024 was not reminding people who Donald Trump is.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, everybody already knows this. Everybody already knows this. I'm like, well, yeah, but like maybe let's remind people and put it into some context and really gross people out.
Yes. There's a reason that Elon Musk decided to throw the hammer down and be like, Trump is in the Epstein files. I mean, he knew. He knew. Even though he took that tweet. Why did he take that tweet back? That was the bridge too far.
Well, because I think Donald Trump has stuff on him too. I think the two of them have done some stuff together that I'm sure we'll find out at some point about.
Somebody's writing a book.
Somebody's writing a book, but I want to play this clip from Michael Wolff. He put this out. I think it was either today or yesterday, and it's about Jeffrey Epstein. Well, actually, before you even play that, let me play this clip because Donald Trump was asked in the White House about Jeffrey Epstein.
Meeting. Yeah.
Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking. We have Texas. We have this. We have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable. Do you want to waste the time and do you feel like answering?
I don't mind answering.
I mean, I can't believe you're asking a question on Epstein at a time like this where we're having some of the greatest success and also tragedy with what happened in Texas. Yes. It just seems like a desecration, but
we suddenly care about the people in Texas. But let me just add, I'm going to play the Michael Wolff thing just on the tail end of this. Hold on. Oops.
So many people have largely given up on the idea that Donald Trump will be held accountable for all of the Donald Trump things he has done. Steve Bannon once said to me that if the P tapes were ever found, it wouldn't make any difference because Trump would just say, that's not me.
He's right.
Shamelessness
He's absolutely right.
has great advantages.
Hence why the story
that
in October
having been said,
made no news.
The secret of Jeffrey Epstein has been lying out there in plain view. And the secret is that he and Donald Trump were best friends for more than a decade. There's a long list of people who have been felled because of casual acquaintances with Epstein. But here, Donald Trump is and was his closest friend. they did everything together. They were joined at the hip. In fact, the Wall Street Journal yesterday really spelled out, the Wall Street Journal, quite a friendly publication to Trump, spelled out point by point by point what is known about this relationship, and quite a bit is known.
Interesting. It's a Murdoch publication.
Any difference whatsoever? Well, the only difference in this case is that the Epstein-Trump relationship goes to the heart of what
is why this is so important.
What MAGA has believed about Epstein and the evil that he has represented. And it's very hard here to get out from under the fact that Trump was arm in arm with this evil for a very, very long time.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
This is the crack in MAGA. There's a
crazy
few,
to me.
but
It's
this
just
is
crazy to me that this
right.
is
It shouldn't be.
I
mean, this is very, very important. But like again, this really points to all the other things that Donald Trump has said is a hoax, or he don't look over here. It's not to the Russia hoax. This. But like the other thing, I said this to my husband the other night too. I was like, he could have continued to kick the can on Jeffrey Epstein, but he didn't. And they put this thing out on a Sunday night, saying it's not real. Don't look here. Don't look here. Don't look here. But all it's done is make people look
there. Yes. And then they discovered the minute missing on the videotape, and I think people are dumb. And then
it's like Watergate on crack.
It's crazy. And then you had like you had Megyn Kelly, Tucker Carlson, Glenn Beck, all these people, because they were the ones screaming about Epstein and the Democrats, and now they have egg on
for God's sake.
Right, bingo bongo, as JoJo calls
Bing
it.
bong.
Bing bong. Okay. All of them were apoplectic about Epstein because they thought they were going to get Democrats wrapped up to your point earlier. And sure as shit, that's what their dear leader is caught up in this in some way, shape, or form. They had to make it disappear because were they all lying back in February when they were talking about that it's on the desk, the client list and all this, and all of them? Yeah, sure they were. Mm-hmm. And then if it was sitting on their desk, what took them so long to release it? And now all of a sudden, there's nothing to release. What do you mean? What are you talking about? Never heard of it. Never heard of it.
They could have even like omit, like this is the other thing. Like they're so corrupt. They could have just like doctored it.
They could have,
but they didn't even do that.
No,
which is kind of surprising
because they're incompetent, corrupt.
I know they're not smart.
People.
They're not smart criminals.
They're not. They're they're not smart people, and they're not serious people. To steal a line from Succession.
No, this is a person who invites the president of Liberia into the White House, and asks him, well, I actually have this here too. Just as another example of how stupid.
Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Well, thank you. It's such good English, such beautiful. Where did you learn to speak so beautifully? Where were you educated? Where?
Yes, sir.
In Liberia.
Yes, sir.
Well, that's very interesting. That's beautiful English.
Sure.
I have people at this table can't speak nearly as well.
Yeah, him.
Yeah, you
fucking
dipshit.
Racist. Exactly. Like, oh my God, you.
That was the equivalent,
such a degenerate,
but worse, of telling a black person that they sound articulate.
It is. I mean, it doesn't
That's some
get
racist ass shit.
Oh my God. And the credit to Chris Rock, who, because when I was younger, people used to say that to me all the time, particularly when I was beginning in Republican politics as a young bushy-tailed, wide-eyed Republican. I said, always get the, oh my God, you're so articulate. And I said,
oh my God.
I didn't know.
God,
I didn't realize until Chris Rock's first major stand-up in 1996, where he talked about speak so well, you're so articulate is not a compliment. He was talking about Colin Powell running for president and how so many people, white people, would say, oh, he speaks so well. He's so well spoken. He speaks so well. And Chris Rock was like, what words are you expecting to come out of his mouth? He's a fucking educated man. What did they think he was going to say? I was going to drop me a bomb today. I was going to be president. I'll never forget it. He goes, speak so well. He goes, what, did he have a stroke the other day? He said, "Get the fuck out of here." Speak so well as a compliment. And
Sorry, it's not funny. It's just you
it's
saying
hilarious.
it was funny.
It's hysterical because that's what Chris Rock, that was his routine. And a light bulb went off for me. I was 20 years old at the time. And I went, oh my God, he's right. And ever since then, when anytime anybody says that, any white person who says that to me, I just look at them and I say, as opposed to,
right.
As opposed to, or you know what I mean? And it like sometimes people are, I'm like, you know, I'll say it with a smile, but I'll be like, because it's right. It's the soft bigotry of low expectations, as George Bush brilliantly said one day during a debate against Al Gore, which is actually about civil rights and education. But anyway, but it still applies.
Which goes to, and this is one of the last thing that I'll bring up before we go, because I know we're running.
And I think you should play Predator one more time before we go.
Yeah, absolutely. We should play it on our way out. And I'm glad that this is coming up in the algorithms, at least it's hitting my feed on Instagram and other places, is that racism being like the original sin of this country.
Oh yeah.
And that the Confederacy was never forced to pay any consequences for what they did.
No, a lot of them were pardoned.
And for the years of slavery, but then being insurrectionists and seceding and going to war with your own country.
Yes.
None of it was held into account. In fact, we made statues of these people, put them in the halls of Congress, and
in state capitals and named roads after them.
And named military bases after these people who led the military against the United States government.
Make it make sense.
And
Donald Trump wants to, and then like the Biden administration was like, you know what, fuck that shit now. We're changing those names. And then Trump came in and said, no, we're changing them back.
Well, right. It's so stupid, but it really goes to the heart of MAGA and Republicans, right? God. Is that they are deeply, deeply racist. And like, they don't want to bring us back to pre-1960s. They want to bring us back to pre-1860s, which folds in the whole conversation about immigration and how this country was founded on free labor.
Yes.
Free labor.
Yeah.
And our entire economy was built on it. And we have never been able to escape it because, again, the South was never forced to pay any price for this. And still, until, you know, then please go watch Ava DuVernay's documentary about the 13th Amendment and how the 13th Amendment was the workaround, because what can you use for slave is prison labor. So when you round up a bunch of folks and you put them in and incarcerate them and you privatize a prison system in this country and you make them do the labor, what does that tell us when they are rounding up immigrants on the streets of New York and putting them into prisons and talking about, well, you can deport yourself now before we lock you up forever. We're not going to let you out. But just what Donald Trump said. And, you know, that's why they blame everything on DEI. Again, to blame everything on women and Black people and immigrants and anybody who's now white, straight, and male and Christian.
Yep.
And, you know, and I don't want to piss anybody off, but it was like the Charlie Kirk. You saw the Charlie Kirk clip, right?
Oh, I saw the Charlie Kirk. I sent it to you guys, I think.
I have it. I'll just play it really quick.
The Democrats are not lifting a finger to remember the well over 100 people that have died in Texas Hill Country. What you are not being told by the media anywhere is that the death toll likely would not have been as high if it wasn't for DEI. This Texas tragedy is just the latest example.
This mother thumber. I can't.
I know.
Fuck this mother thumber. I can't do it. I can't do it with Charlie Kirk. I saw that. I was like, I don't even want to know how you're blaming this on DEI. I just cannot. I just cannot. I would take DEI and switch it around and I call it didn't earn it, because there's plenty of DEI. This entire Trump freaking administration is a bunch of DEI hires, a bunch of didn't earn it. And that guy
Donald,
right there,
Eric, and Ivanka.
That's right.
Talk, right?
Exactly. Like I cannot with this. And the fact that they just, I can't.
I love making fun of that young man because he is repulsive. For a man who's going around telling women they got to find a husband or whatever, I was like, you are the most, can you imagine waking up next to that every day?
No.
Kill me.
No. No.
But then and like that somehow he is like the ideal specimen of human being that we should all aspire to be, Charlie Kirk. And he has the audacity, and again, like, he's a provocateur, right? But
Yes.
he believes the shit. He
Yes,
believes
and
it.
he's got a lot of followers, and he's very well
Yes,
funded. Very
millions
well
and
funded.
millions. Exactly.
That guy
Millions
right
of
there
people.
is responsible for lots of votes of young people between the ages of 18 and 25 that have gone MAGA, because he's established this whole thing, this Turning Point USA, that Republicans invested all this money in to prop him up in his bullshit for years. And he's sowing those seeds of that bullshit into the younger generations of up and coming MAGAs. So as much as we can't stand him, unfortunately, that guy has been elevated and well funded and is a force inside of MAGA for the younger generations. And this is the ilk that he's sowing into the minds
we cannot
of these people.
dismiss them as crazy people.
Nope.
Like, we have to take them seriously because they are serious.
Yep.
They're unserious people, but the damage that they do is serious.
Yep.
And like this whole like young man manosphere stuff that's happening with young MAGA, he is at the heart of it.
Yep. That's right. That's correct. And this is what we're up against, which is why, once again, we do what we do. This is why Seneca exists. And it's why it's so important for everyone that is watching us, that is engaged, to make sure that you are completely informed as to what's going on. Spread the word. If you guys don't get our newsletter, please go to senecaproject.us, put your name in our email. So you can start getting our emails. We put out a weekly newsletter every week where we talk about stuff that we've done. If you don't follow us on social media, you can still be a part of that. We may do it more than once a week. It depends on bandwidth.
We're two people.
There's three of us that do all of that work. Shout out to Mallory, our national press
we love
secretary.
Mallory.
But Mallory's going to have a baby soon, so we're going to be down one.
Yeah.
God bless her. But so, but it's important. It's called the Seneca Snapshot. It's important for us to make sure that all of you that are followers of Seneca and support what we do, you see what we're actually doing all the time.
Yeah.
And so make sure you guys go to our website and sign up for that. And it also gives ways to support us too, if you are so inclined. But you can also share our stuff, share the stakes, share our shows. That is critically important, because the more people that are exposed to us, it helps the algorithm. Come and watch, like, and subscribe. All of this is important, because these are the mainstream media doesn't talk about this stuff, and they don't talk about it in the way we do. And we're a lot more fun to hang out with. So on that note,
and
I'd say so.
And please, if you have not liked and subscribed to us on YouTube, if you're watching us on YouTube, please go and put the thumbs up, put a like on it, because that really does help us.
Yeah. Can you drop the link into the chat? Someone asked to drop a link into the chat for Seneca.
Oh yeah. Hold on. Hold on.
We always forget to do that.
senecaproject.us.
Yes. There it is. There it is.
Yeah, make sure that you like and subscribe, because it really does help us. It helps us reach more people, which is really important. And
on YouTube, for those who are watching on YouTube, it helps with the algorithm.
Exactly. And to just to echo Tara, like, I cannot emphasize this enough. The creator space on the right is very, very well funded. They have a shit ton of money. Now it's bad money, but they have it.
But they have it, and
they reach millions of people. Now, I say all that to say, yes, Seneca, please support us. We, of course, we always appreciate, monetary donations, but to Tara's point, the sharing, the clicking, all of that also helps us, and it helps you, and it helps everybody else. So, thank you so much.
Yes. And on that note, we're going to leave you with Predator, which was something that we called it Protector during the election. I don't know if you had explained this earlier, but there's more people with us now. So I feel like the people who weren't with us earlier, that might've been watching me on MSNBC. And I, like I said, I was a little late today, but it was worth it. But we called it Protector because Donald Trump was bullshitting women, saying that he was going to be their protector. And we not no, but hell no. And
That's
so
right.
we put together this compilation of video clips and quotes of Donald Trump himself, and you can decide whether you think he's a protector or not. But we re-released it and renamed it Predator because of the Jeffrey Epstein stuff, and it's back in, and we feel as though that's a bit more appropriate now.
Sadly evergreen.
Enough. So on that note, we leave you with Predator, and we will see you guys on Saturday for Coffee and Conversation with our Over It gals, JoJo from Jers, and more of Julie Roginski. And everybody have a good night. We'll see you on Saturday.
Bye, everybody. Stay safe.
I always thought women liked me.
And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
Whatever you want.
Grab them by the pussy.
I make this statement to the great women.
Questionable comments about a young girl.
You going up the escalator? I'm going to be dating her in 10 years. I am your protector.
Carol opening her testimony today saying, quote, "I'm here because Donald Trump raped me."
I want to be your protector.
5 former Miss Teen USA contestants told BuzzFeed that Trump did in fact walk in on them while they were changing.
And so I sort of get away with things like that. You will no longer be abandoned, lonely, or scared.
Donald held back Ivana's arms and began to pull out fistfuls of hair from her scalp.
You're not going to be in danger any longer.
I turned around and I see Donald standing there. I'm thinking, this son of a bitch just grabbed me.
Women will be happy, healthy, confident, and free.
Trump called Epstein a terrific guy, adding, "It is even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side."
You will no longer be thinking about abortion.
They're going to just let me bleed out here.
Do you believe in punishment for abortion? Yes or no, as a principle?
The answer is that there has to be some form of punishment.
For the woman?
Yeah. You will be protected, and I will be your protector. Women. I was able to terminate Roe v. Wade. I got rid of Roe v. Wade. Killing Roe v. Wade.